What's going on, humans? And welcome to a new Psicoactivo. So, I'm going to give you guys a little update on the interview with George Knapp that I'm supposed to have this month. He told me via email that I had to reach out to him at the beginning of December so we could set it up. And I just sent him the email today. I didn't want it to be right on the first, a little too on the nose. And I know the guy is really busy with all the results from his Netflix show, and he has a lot of interviews going on. He was just on the UAP Studies podcast, and shout out to the UAP Studies podcast crew. They get some of the best guests that I can think of. They spoke for a little less than 2 hours, and there were two things that I wanted to talk to you guys about. The first one is George's opinion on what's going on in the UK right now, which is a lot of incursions of drones. And George has a very interesting take on it. So take a look at this.
They build craft that look like ours. It's underway right now. These drone things that are popping up over air bases, drones, a nice prosaic term that calms us down. Well, maybe somebody went to Amazon and bought one or Walmart or something. They're trying to shoot those things down. They haven't been able to using the kind of sophisticated anti-drone technology. It doesn't work on these things. I think those drones they're something else, and they're telling us something. Might be people in the government who can figure this out better than I can. But I mean, the overall message is this stuff is complicated. We're taking you guys along one step at a time. It's not going to be overnight. We're giving you glimpses of the larger universe and the larger reality in the world, and you got to work at it. And I think that, again, is my advice to people interested in the UFO topic. Be patient, work at it. You can't just read UFO books and read stuff on Twitter and expect to understand this stuff. You got to educate yourself on a much broader scale. I learn stuff every day that I didn't know before about this topic. I wish I could retain all of it. My house, if you could see it, it's a mess. I mean, I probably have 10,000 books now that on a variety of subjects related to this somehow. It's a wealth of information, and you can't learn it overnight. You just can't.
Yeah. So George seems to think that these are not drones, that these drones mimic uh, human technology. That's not new. It is something that has been talked about before. We know that Dr. Gary Nolan spoke about this before, that these things have the capability to mimic craft. So I don't know what information George has about this specifically, but there was a recent Tom Rogan article on the Washington Examiner where he comes out with the conclusion that based on his investigation, these may be either Chinese or Russian drones. And this is an escalation of some sorts. And he claims that the Air Force Office of Special Investigations were already called to get involved in this, and they already are. And also the UK Army and the UK Navy already got involved. So I don't know if we're going to be seeing more of these incursions and sightings, but I'm guessing we will probably. And also, there's this theory going around. Patrick at Vetted already covered it. Jack at Cosmic Road already covered it. I'm going to leave both links in the description so you can check them out. But this turned into a broken telephone game really quickly. And I want to clear a few things up, though. This guy that predicted what was about to happen on December the 3rd, people started saying that it was going to be an alien invasion and all that stuff. All these predictions were saying is that a group of remote viewers saw some kind of a melee or a dogfight in the sky. That's all they said. They didn't say anything about alien invasion or anything like that. So this is being over sensationalized, as many topics within the UFO community tend to be. That's all they said. And if this happens, we still don't know if this is conventional tech made by humans against future technology made by humans or unknown technology made by humans. It is also possible. George Knapp seems to think they are not made by humans, and he just said that they're trying to shoot them down. I don't think that's a great idea, but what do I know? The other part that I found really, really interesting was George talking about how some firsthand whistleblowers were offered to these Congress people before the hearing on November the 13th, but something happened that didn't allow them to be part of the hearings. I don't know which whistleblowers George Knapp is talking about. I'm pretty sure he knows exactly who it is, but something happened. Someone moved something. Someone influenced the final list of names, and we didn't get to see any firsthand whistleblowers, which is what we were clamoring for so long. And I don't know if we're ever gonna get those, to be honest with you. We can't keep expecting for the US government to give us the goodies willingly when they very clearly don't want to. They've done repeated stuff that tells you very clearly they do not want this out. And they will go to any length necessary to keep it that way. And George is one of the people that I respect the most in this topic. Uh, he's the reason Area 51 is known. He was the one who made the first report about Bob Lazar. He had John Lear with him. They spoke about some of the most outlandish stuff you could hear at the time. Obviously, post Kehoe, but if I trust someone who is dedicated to the topic for decades, that someone is George. And as a journalist, you will understand why I have like a soft spot for him. And to me, he's always been true to what he's trying to report on. He knows and he's acknowledged before that there is something that happens with people who investigate this stuff, who try to research this stuff, who often get false information and they don't realize it. Probably this has happened to George in the past, and it's happened to pretty much any journalist who's been trying to investigate this in the past, because that's the system that is in place. We know that it's happened to people like Linda Moulton Howe. We know that it happened multiple times to Jaime Maussan. It just happens. That's the way they operate. And I've been going back again and again to the interview I did with Danny Sheehan, where he says that Project Mockingbird hasn't stopped. It just changed names, it changed the setting. It is now happening more prominently over all of the social media, and it's true. So I want to show you this clip from George Knapp at the UAP Studies podcast, so you guys can check out what he said about the hearings and about these whistleblowers. So here's the video.
These members of Congress, Nancy Mace, saying, we've been told we can't ask questions about XYZ. Told by who? Who told you? What questions can't you ask? Not very clear. They had that hearing. They were offered direct hands-on whistleblowers. I can tell you that for sure. They didn't take the offer. There's that 11, 12-page report that was submitted to the record. Jeremy Corbell is the one that gave it to him. I know because I had read it and helped in preparing them, putting it together. And Jeremy gave it to them the night before. He showed it to Michael Schellenberger. He had never seen it. The committee thanks Michael in open hearing. Thank you for giving us that report. Michael didn't give it to him. He had never seen it before. Jeremy gave it to him. They distorted that. There were people in the room who were watching them, so they didn't ask certain questions. They have been unable to get a skiff to take some of these whistleblowers in. What the hell's the problem in Congress members getting a skiff so they can hear sensitive matters? I don't understand it. I don't understand who's pulling all the strings here, but I suspect it's the same people that have always been pulling these strings that are Congress, I think, is a direct threat. They have subpoena power. They have authority to get to the bottom of this, or at least to try and to raise hell if they can't get answers. And I think there are definite efforts underway to discourage members of Congress from pushing too hard on this. And the same with mainstream media. New York Times, that started this ball rolling, they're not covering UFOs anymore. And if they do, it's a negative kind of a thing. Washington Post had an opportunity to do the Dave Grush editorial and sat on it forever. And finally, Grush gave up. The LA Times, I don't know that they ever do UFO stories unless it's kind of a feature. 60 Minutes did a really great piece. I know they're still interested because I communicate with the producer there, and but they haven't got clearance to do it again. The guys who pull the strings are really good at this stuff, and they're still making their presence known. Arrow gets created. Oh boy, that's great. That sounds great. After this terrific work by the UAP task force, led by this guy, Jay Stratton, who is a giant in this field, and we're going to be hearing more from him in the near future. UAP task force pulls together some great evidence. Some of it leaked out. Jeremy Corbell and I reported it. They owned up to it. They didn't lie. They said, yes, that's ours. And yes, it's unknown craft. So after that, they create something called AIMSOG, which is a ridiculous acronym that could never be pronounced. And then Arrow gets created. And we're all hopeful. Great, Arrow. Sean Kirkpatrick comes in. Everybody who knows him knew what was going to happen. They put out that ridiculous report and basically crapped all over everybody. They had invited all these whistleblowers to come forward, loyal patriots, people with high security clearances, had worked on nuclear missiles, had worked in intelligence agencies. They invited them in. They wanted them to testimony. They allowed them to say whatever they want, and then they disregarded all of it. That, to me, was a clear sign they are never going to cough this up unless they're forced to do it. Sorry, I went off on a tangent there.
No, but
we force it?
Yeah. So what do you guys think about this? What do you guys think about George saying that he knows these are not man-made tech, the ones at the UK, the sightings? What do you guys think about what he discussed on the first-hand whistleblowers that were never presented to Congress? Who made the decision to prevent that? Who do you think? We can already get some guesses, right? And I'm going to leave, obviously, the link to the full show on the description so you guys can check it out. They talk about a lot of stuff. They talk about cattle mutilations. They talk about George's work overall and how he knows that no matter how much information he's investigated over the years, he still can't pinpoint to a specific thing that the phenomenon is. He says that it's always very broad. And I think that's very important to keep in mind. Yes, there is evidence from the abductees and from everybody who's had like these experiences and the description of the beings that, yes, they are from somewhere else, but we still don't know exactly where from, or if they're from here, from underground. We don't know. You can say all you want that they're from another planet, but you really have no evidence to that still. We know that the abduction phenomenon is real, that it is happening. We still can't say it's happening because of this. We can't. And anybody who has experienced the abduction phenomenon or any other type of encounter will tell you the same thing, that they don't really know. All they know is that it's real. They felt it, they experienced it, and that's why they came forward. They were brave enough to come forward. And we gotta keep investigating. That's the conclusion that I get from this. But let me know what you think about George's thoughts on this. And if you like the content you see, like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you can be notified when a new video drops. If you want to support the channel in any other way, there's a bunch of links in the description. Take your pick. There's PayPal. There's Buy Me a Coffee. You can buy yourself something. You can get something for the podcast. Every help is always appreciated. So thank you very much for your help. And without further ado, I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. Bye.